In this module, we'll be covering different charting techniques. We all recognize that Excel is fantastic at storing and manipulating data, but it's also pretty good at visualizing that information. In fact, your author suggests that it's a safe bet that Excel is the most commonly used software for creating charts in the whole world. We need to make sure that the charts that we make are professional and that you're aware of many of the options related to charts. Let's start out by reviewing some of the basics. Over here you see that we have some data and maybe we want to create a chart out of this. We can hit Control A to select everything. Of course, we need to be somewhere in the table there. And once we do that, we can come up to the Insert menu and we can insert a chart. You can see that we have lots of different chart options here. Let's go ahead and click on the recommended chart. And sure, that one looks fine right there. It goes ahead and creates that chart for us. Already, it's made some assumptions for us on how we want it laid out, etc. This actually looks like a pretty good start. Now, we have what are known as two different series in this chart. We have the one for widgets and the one for sprockets. And if you click on those each individually, and it doesn't matter which one you click on, but it'll highlight all the data in that series. Now I want to draw your attention up here to the toolbar where you can see that this series is actually just a formula, and we can see a few different things related to this series. Let's make sure we understand each of the components here. That first parameter is actually the series name, and you can see that it's sprockets selected over here. The second group or second parameter here are the labels for our axes. These are often called category labels. And then the third parameter is simply the values for each of the labels that we've selected for that series. And then there's one final parameter, this one here at the end, simply is the order of where this series falls compared to other things. So if we wanted to move sprockets to the first position or before our widgets, we can put a 1 there and hit OK, and now it's switched positions. Or we can switch it back by putting 2 there. So pretty straightforward. Let me just cover a few basics related to series. Each series must be on a single worksheet. Ranges in the series are absolute, as you can see right there. You can make a non-contiguous series, that is, data that's stored across two different parts, but again, it must be on the same sheet. If you did that, you would have something like you would put a parentheses in here and say something like, review basics C4 to C8, comma, and then review basics maybe C10 to C20, the second range of cells, and then close parentheses. So if you have multiple sets of data, you can do that, but you would separate them by a comma and nest them in parentheses. And it is good to note that different series can actually come from different worksheets, and that can be handy as you gather charts on larger worksheets with different pieces of information stored on each separate sheet. Okay, next let's take a look at design and format options. So charts are somewhat unique in Excel. There are other objects like this, like data tables, pivot tables, etc. But you'll notice that when you're clicked on a chart, you have a couple different tabs up here on your menu bar. When you click off of it, those tabs disappear. So I want to jump in and explore a little bit the design tab. Here you see that you have different options to change the design of your chart. You can add new chart elements. For instance, if you want to add different axes labels, you can do that, or change the chart title and where it's laid out. Some error bars, maybe a trend line. You can do that all right in line there. Now I want to also point out that here on the chart you can see this plus button to the right side of the chart. That's essentially doing the same thing, where you can mess around and add different things, look at the different options, etc. So lots of different ways to do the same thing. We could also, explore with different pre-packaged layouts and find a style that we might like there as far as the layout's concerned. Or we could change the colors in the chart. Maybe I like different color schemes, and I'm feeling a little monochromatic today, so I could change and use just that. Or we can come back to the default. Now, you'll also notice that here we have kind of a variant to the colors. All of these options will be under the same color schemes, but it'll have different layout options already pre-packaged for us. So we could hover over those, find one that we like, and then maybe click on it and say, yeah, that looks pretty good there. We'll do the 3D old school stuff. Now, you can also switch your row and column. That is, as we click on this, you'll see that then we get the widgets all clustered together and the sprockets all clustered together. And you can see those over time with the widgets decreasing and the sprockets increasing. If you want to select new data, you can click on that button there, and then you can add new ranges depending on what you want to do in your chart there. And of course, there's a quick switch row and column there as well. So if we wanted to add a whole new series, we could do it right here. Or if we wanted to change our chart type, we can come in and choose different chart types based on the same data, and it gives you a little preview of what those look like. When you first insert a chart, you can put it in an existing sheet or a new sheet. That's what this Move Chart button does up here. It essentially allows you to take an existing chart and do that same thing. Okay, so pretty basic information there. Let's go ahead and look over here at adding some new data. Of course, the data for this chart is already linked over to this data, such that if we change something here, oh, we had a really bad month there, only sold 1,000 sprockets. The chart dynamically updates. I'll go ahead and undo that. Now we can also add some more information. I'll just highlight a portion of this, and then I'll just drag down a couple of rows, and you'll notice that it actually continues the trend over the time period and increased it proportionally for the sprockets, decreased it proportionally for the widgets. However, our chart did not update. So how can we add new data to a chart if the chart's already preset? Well, there's a few different ways. We can manually come up here and extend, let's say, our series. We'll go through 10 instead. But notice that added the series data, but not over here the month data. So while you can do that, it might just be easier, though, to come over, and once you have the series highlighted, you can drag down any of the appropriate labels or data and have that fill in. Even better yet, let me back off just a little bit, get back to where our chart was. I was using Control-Z there. I can click on this, and as I just click on the chart overall, it has all the series selected, and I can just drag down all the information at once, and that extends my chart, or makes it so my chart includes all of that data. Okay, let's continue on and look at these format options. So over here we can, just select something and format just the selection. We can reset certain things to match styles. We can insert certain shapes into our chart, or, change the style of the shapes itself. We can also change the lettering associated with our charts, the background, all sorts of different things. Let me show you just a little bit on the lettering here. Notice how the title and the axes labels and the legend all change based on my selection right there. You'll notice that this chart has a name associated with it, that whenever we have it selected, we can see which chart we're talking about. Okay, let's talk for just a minute about chart titles. Let me preface this by asking a question. What happens if you write an essay in your English or writing class and don't include a title for that essay? Well, you lose points. Titles are so important. A chart without a title is not a complete chart. So I want you to know that I expect you to have titles on your charts, and if you submit a chart in a homework or on an exam without a title, then you'll lose a point because it's so important, such an important part of the chart. Now, you know how to change chart titles, right? You just kind of click on it, and if you're going to statically, change it, you can just come up here and say, my chart title. Of course, that's not a very good title, but maybe we can come up with a better one. But I want to show you that rather than just static titles, you can actually create what are known as dynamic titles. So I'm going to come over here into A2. I've clicked there, and I'll just say XYZ company cells or something like that. And then here, I want that to be my title. And so what I'll do is I click on the title here so it's highlighted. Then I come up into the menu or the formula bar and I say equals. And then I point over to this cell that has the information that I want it to use. So click on A2, it automatically fills that in for me, and I hit enter. And all of a sudden, I have a dynamic title. What do I mean by dynamic? Well, I can come over here and say, change the title, and it automatically will update in the chart. So that's pretty cool and super easy, actually. We can also do something similar by adding text boxes to charts. We'll do that by clicking here and coming up to Format, and then selecting the text box icon that's found under Insert Shapes. And we'll choose where we want that. We'll put it here, and we'll just say, call that source, and we could, list the source if we wanted to for the data that we have in our chart. Let's go ahead and just change this just a little bit. Maybe, that's the background. Let's just change that to be white, maybe. Now we can also just simply say, instead of typing something statically in there, we'll put that there. And then we could say, list the data source here, and then that would update. Oops, but it didn't retain our formatting. So let's try to change it now, so that can be dynamic as well. Okay, well, let's go ahead and just remove that for our purposes here. Okay, I want to show you one more thing before we finish with this section. I want to show you that you can take charts and you can easily copy and paste them, make duplicates of them. I'll hit Control-C there, and then so I had it selected, I hit Control-C, and I'll come over here and I'll simply paste by using Control-V. And you can see that I get an exact duplicate of the chart. And then I could, once I've made that change, then I can adjust things stylistically or the data ranges or other things. So very easy to copy and paste. Sometimes you want just a static snapshot of where you're at instead of, changing every time the data changes. Often when you're doing writing reports or other things, you'll get all your data for, say, a given quarter, and then you want just that not to change as things go on. And so you might copy, and instead of just hitting Control-V to paste, you can come here to your paste options, and you'll see here that you can paste just the picture. Now this is a JPEG or just an image. It's not going to change or update. For instance, to illustrate that, let's change maybe this one here to be 100,000 instead, and you see that that widget is up there, but we just get the state of the chart at the time that we took the snapshot or we pasted that image is all that we get. Okay, one last thing before we end. I'll go ahead and just clean this up just a little bit here. But if you spend a lot of time creating a style that you like, how it's laid out exactly how you'd like it to be, and other things, you can actually save that as a template and then reapply it later, which is totally awesome. In order to save this chart style as a template, you select it, you right-click on it, and you say Save as Template. And I'll say here, I'll just call this sales chart. And now when I insert a new chart, I can simply select the data here, come over to Insert, and come over to Recommended Charts. And if I'll click on this All Charts button, I can come over and see the templates that I have stored on my machine. And I can say, oh, yep, that's what I want right there. That has the style, the layout, etc. And so I don't have to spend all the time going back and recreating every single step to get a similar looking chart. Okay, I think that's a good review on the basics. Let's go ahead and jump into some specifics with several different examples, different types of charts.